Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the end of week 9. I apologize for the lateness of this video, but I did want to get something out just to talk to the class about the upcoming assignment and to hit on a few things that some of you might like to know as we head into the second half of the semester. I've had a couple people, first of all, reach out about feedback for the first essays. And I know you can see if you just go into the grade book or click on the announcement that says new feedback is left in your course homepage. You can't really see the feedback I want you to see, which is basically just a copy of your essay in your document with just marginal notes written on the side. And I do this in Word, so you do have to have Word in order to be able to see this. But in order to find it, you have to go to the assignment folder where you turn the essay in. And I can see that a number of people haven't yet gone to that feedback. But when you click on the assignment folder, it'll take you to a page where it lists all the folders, and to the right of that somewhere should be one of the columns will say feedback unread or feedback ready or something along those lines. And when you click on that, you'll be able to see the same rubric and the same score and any comments that were left. But underneath that should be a box that says something along the lines of attached files or uploaded files. And that is the document. It'll have just whatever you titled your document, essay 1 or whatever, feedback at the end of it. And that's really the feedback that I want you to see. The only reason that you wouldn't have a feedback document in that a space is if you turned in a PDF where I can't leave marginal notes. In which case I probably left you more just written comments in the rubric and elsewhere than I would have otherwise. But if you do have that feedback, go ahead and open it, check it out. You do need to see it in Word, but it should be pretty evident. You can click on the comments and see what part of the text gets highlighted, and that's the part that I'm referring to. I try to not just leave negative feedback or criticism. I do also try to point out things that you're doing well, especially if it relates to other things that you do elsewhere that could stand correction, grammar issues and using quotes and MLA stuff and the like. I might point out the first couple issues of a poorly integrated quote, but then after that, I will say, this is a continuing issue. You need to read the rest of the essay and fix it as you can. So yeah, that is where you go to find the feedback that I really want you to see. Now, a couple people have asked about revisions, and typically what I do with revisions in the course of the semester is after the first 3 essays have been submitted and graded and posted feedback and everything, I usually open up a feedback folder or a Dropbox assignment folder, whatever it's called, to allow for everyone to pick one of those first 3 essays and submit a rewrite. And that rewrite is kind of just an open thing. I don't really have any specific math where it's like, oh, if you do a revision, you get 5 points or 10 points added. I basically just read the essay and score it like I would if it were the first time I was seeing it. So it's a good chance to show that you've, addressed the feedback, understand it, improved as a writer throughout the semester, because obviously by the end of the semester, you might hopefully be a better writer of essays, or at least understand the assignment and the processes that we're rehearsing in class at the end of the semester. So if one of the first couple of essays you didn't do so well or didn't like the way it went, here's your chance to submit a second draft or a third draft, as the case may be. So that's that. The only other thing that I really wanted to talk about was this week's or this unit's essay assignment, which is contextual criticism. Contextual criticism it's basically, one of the 2 schools of major literary criticism, one being what we've been doing up to this point, which is just dealing with the text itself. Just read it, and you don't really need to know anything about who the author is or the time and place it was created, but you're just sort of looking at the various parts of a text, looking for the way it sort of has that organic unity, looking for all those literary elements without necessarily needing to know much about anything else other than just the text. Our next assignment, the essay 3, will kind of be the other end of that, which is completely focusing on the context that a work is created. Still looking for thematic discussion, still looking for the things that the story seems to be talking about, but this time talking about that within the frame of the time and place the work was created. And this typically involves a certain amount of research. We're not experts on a lot of the ideas that we might see to comment on in an essay, but research can help us shore up our certainty for our own readers. And so we're going to practice this, with the Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. It's a great story to sort of talk about context. As a story itself, it's quite fascinating, but when you start to take a look at the author's life and the time and place that she existed and the kind of things that she experienced, it opens up a little bit further and deeper commentary on what the story is actually doing. And we do need research to talk about this because this is a 125-year-old story, and none of us were alive back then. So in order to be able to talk about these things, we have to do research. For our practice, I'm going to give you the research myself. I'm going to post sources and sort of talk about how they relate, and how the process that we go through with the practice, with the sample essay, is the process that you're going to go through with whichever story you pick. The stories that are up for grabs are the same stories that are up for grabs from the last essay, whether they were talked about in a discussion post or not. If you wrote about it in your second essay, you can write about it again, or if you want to pick a completely different story, that's entirely up to you. But the goal will not be just to interpret the story, analyze the story, deconstruct it, and break it down into its parts, and sort of just talk about how the story, the plot, the characters, the setting, the symbolism all kind of work together to sort of discuss this theme. But now we're going to be using research to help us discuss the themes that are being talked about in broader context. So the work for this week really is just read the Yellow Wallpaper and give it the same kind of literary and analytic treatment that we would have given the stories up to this point, just for the sake of getting started. The story is in the textbook. There's a PDF version linked in the discussion post for this week on Brightspace, and it's a very well-known and anthologized story. So failing any of that, you should be able to find a copy of this. And so the discussion for this week, there's a quiz as well, but the discussion this week is just talk about characters, talk about plot, talk about setting, talk about characterization and narrative point of view, talk about imagery and symbolism and all the different things that we have covered up to this point in the semester, and just dealing with the text itself. And then next week, we will add some context to our discussion, and we will be able to sort of hopefully get a glimpse of what this task is all about. There already is a sample essay available if you would like to take a look at it. It is on the Yellow Wallpaper. It's in Brightspace. We're sort of talking about how that sample essay might have come into existence as we do our discussion work over the next couple of weeks. But while we're doing that, go ahead and see if you can land on which one of those stories that's up for grabs, which one of those do you think you might want to talk about a little bit further? Which one seems to be talking about things that might be interesting, or at the very least researchable for you for a process like this? More on that to come next week. For now, discussion post on the Yellow Wallpaper awaits you. Enjoy the story, take the quiz. If you have any questions, please reach out. And if you haven't seen that feedback in the Essay 1 folder, go ahead and check it out. I will be grading Essay 2 as quickly as I possibly can. I did mean to originally make this Sunday, the coming Sunday, the due date for this, and not the past Sunday. So if you haven't turned the essay in, you still have a little bit of time, and I will get that feedback to you as quickly as I can so that we can keep moving on and keep moving forward in the course of the semester. So if there's anything I can do to help you guys out, just let me know. Otherwise, enjoy the weekend as it comes, and stay tuned for more next week.